May the force be with you is a phrase used to wish a person well to overcome a challenge. The invitation in this podcast, May the Lifeforce be with you, is to explore what it means to truly feel alive, to appreciate the physical, emotional and spiritual connection to our energy, and finally to understand how this impacts who you are and all that you do. May this conversation inspire you to thrive.
Alive is an online course that helps you to reveal, meet and heal the patterns that cause you to lose your most precious resource, your life force energy. So if you're tired of feeling tired, visit starlight-temple.com/alive and use the code podcast to get a half-price discount on this process that aligns you into aliveness. Our intention with this episode is that everybody listening remembers how precious and important their life force energy is. And that's my intention. That's all that came through.
I love it. Short and sweet and to the point.
Yeah. Love it. Well, as you can hear, we have a guest with us for this episode of May the Life Force Be With You. And this is Valentina Hertz, who is an entrepreneur. And oh my gosh, I should have practiced this. Tantra teacher, but I'm sure you will fill in the gaps of what I can't pronounce. Body awareness kinesthesis guide and focuses on the subconscious, IVS, and cultivations from emotional disruptors. For an experience and increase in anxiety and burnout, chronic health symptoms, mental, emotional exhaustion, intense cynicism, which is something I think we might want to jump into, irritability, feelings of detachment from work and kind of personal life. So I guess that kind of led you on your journey, as it's done for many of us. But currently you're a compassionate guide and tantra coach and focus on educating individuals about ways of leading a more expressive life. Recognizing the importance of holistic well-being, Valentina delves into various modalities to support individuals on their own transformative paths. And that includes everything from earth medicine, somatic movement, touch therapy, breath work, meditation, tantra yoga. You facilitate that experience just to allow others to connect with their emotional and also physical body. So bringing that all together. So as you can tell, dear listeners, there's a lot that we will unpack today. And that is only a tiny part, because I also know Valentina is keen to talk with us about some topics around cacao, nootropics. We also resilience. You've also lived, worked, and experienced places around the world that I'm sure have influenced your journey as well. So oh my gosh, a lot to unpack, but I just wanted to start by extending the welcome that Kahreela has already set for us, and just to say, how's your life force today?
Wow. So thank you, Fiona and Kahreela, for this. It's really wow for me. My life force today is unbelievably strong. It surprises me every morning that I wake up. And some mornings I'm a bit like, but somehow I just keep going. And this is what I call life force. This is what life force is for me. Practically anything and everything that gets me to wake up in the morning, that already is a life force. So for me today, it's strong. Even though, like I said, I've been fasting for a while, so I'm a bit like, jittery, but it's strong.
And how long have you been fasting for? I think you mentioned you're having quite a long fast at the moment.
Yes. So so far it's been between 4 or 5 days. I've lost count. Why have I lost count? Not to sound all mystical and stuff. It's just I'm taking it a day at a time. And so if I tell my brain that from the beginning that I'm going to fast for an X number of days, it's almost like the other part of the mind comes in and goes, yeah, but really, isn't that too long? And don't you really want a piece of whatever? And by the second or third day, I was like, all I could think about was pizza. I was like, pizza, 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 pizza. And I'm thinking, do I honestly want pizza? As in, like, does my body want pizza, or is it just the brain that is going through this, kind of need? So it's been, honestly, at the beginning, it's always a challenge. Now it's almost like, it's so much easier. I do have my my nootropics, my mushrooms, which I take in the morning with a cup of or a glass of cacao, um, just with water, nothing else, because I do believe that during this fasting time there is a depletion on one side of the nutrients that happen within the body. So I don't want to, in other words, I want to have the full benefit of the fasting without the downsides of it. And so I do my salt in the water, which is very, very important. I put the salt in the water when I get jittery, when I feel like, oh, I could really eat, then I add some salt in my water, and I drink a lot of water. And because of the fasting, at the beginning, I was getting headaches, and I realized, oh, I'm not drinking enough water. My water intake needed to go up versus my usual daily water intake, because now there's a lot that's flashing. A lot of information, but anyway.
And so can you just clarify what are you completely fasting? Or are you eating at certain times of the day, or like what? Because a fast can be many different. Like I know many people. I have a friend doing a mung mean fast. I've actually just come back from Egypt, and Ramadan was starting, which is a fast during the daylight hours with no water, which is nuts to me.
Yeah.
And so can you just clarify what this fast actually is in terms of what you're fasting from, what the intention is, and what you are doing and what you aren't doing? I know you mentioned about the cacao, but just to make it clearer.
Sure. Thanks for the question. It's a very relevant question because, like you said, fasting has so many facets to it. And there's the intermittent fasting, which happens for me anyway, every day. And that means short periods of time fasting. Everybody goes through that because we go to sleep. And so there's a period where we don't eat. But mine extends towards the morning. In this case, what I am doing as a fasting is abstaining from foods. So it started off very slowly. It wasn't like I went from one day of eating full-on meals and the whole thing to the next day going to zero, because that really shocks the body, and it's also not doable for most of us. So I went quite easy with just one day just eating some fruits and just cutting down on that, and eating some cacao. And why I say cacao, it's because it's 100%. So it's got no sugars, no milk, no etc. And then kind of slowly getting my body off it for about 2 days. I didn't need more than that. And right now, all that I am doing is doing my cacao in the morning, which is the liquid form, with the nootropics and the adaptogens. So the mushrooms, the sometimes
Sorry, can you clarify what nootropics are, just for somebody that doesn't?
Sure, of course. So nootropics are plant substances or so it's like mainly mushrooms, like your lion's mane, your chaga, ashwagandha, your turkey tail.
The Super 7. It's the Super 7, right?
So I don't know if that, maybe, yeah. And so that's okay. I didn't know about that.
It's a thing. It's a thing. In the UK, they sell Super 7. All of those mushrooms you just named, they sell Super 7 as a supplement. It's like the 7 top mushrooms for your health.
Okay. Well, we don't have that here in Switzerland that I've noticed, but cool to know. It's nice. And like your 40 or Hesha Wu, which is a different name. And so all of these are part of your nootropic group. And they help with cognition, with rebalancing your system, your whole body system, from normal things like what we're dealing with, pollution, stress, and etc. So we get these imbalances within our hormones, within our cells, within our system, and then with all of this, of course, it creates this and others. Of course, it creates disease. So it's also normal because as we age, for example, degeneration starts happening within the brain, and we start losing our connections between the synapses and etc. With, for example, lion's mane mushroom, which has been extremely studied, those rebuild the myelin sheath, and again, your neurotransmitters are rebuilt and reboosted, and your cells get reboosted. And so from my experience, you stop having these fog-like moments. And
I mean, mushrooms are the great pathway makers, aren't they?
They are.
They do. They make.
I have discovered them in the last year, and I love it. I really do.
They are.
And I find that I replace it with my coffee in the morning. I now have a yeah, and I really look forward to it, and I really enjoy it. And I think preparing with cacao as well feels like a really nice addition to that, and I can feel how it give you that more natural release of energy, and almost like for me, I get a clarity and a kind of boost of focus. And then when I also introduced it, I was started fasting or doing longer fasts as well, and I feel like it's important when you break fast, but also, as you were mentioning before, how you prepared for it, that you start to introduce these well, for want of a better word, alternative to some of the more stimulants that we perhaps leaned on in the past, or in kind of a more toxic food scenario. So how do you break fast? What are the things that you do when you're coming out of the fast?
So, good question. My answer would be pizza. No, of course not. I was like, I'm still thinking about pizza. No, actually, the way I break fast is very reluctantly, to tell you the truth, because I get so used to this not thinking about food, even though it's around me, and not being tempted by it, that it's very, very difficult for me to actually want to break a fast. I need to force myself to do it. So when I do it,
it's a form of control, Valentina. Do you find that it's a form of control, and there's something? Do you get a sense of satisfaction from being able to fast for those long periods, where it's almost like a little bit of competition with yourself? Is there you mentioned resilience before. Is there kind of a play there with resilience and then breaking fast, and how that all feels wrapped up together, perhaps?
It's it's a very valid point, and I'll tell you that for me, it used to be like that for many things in my life. And how resilience ties into what you're saying is the body, and it's just normal. We become resilient to the situations and the scenarios that are within our life, and our body adapts very quickly. So it's no longer for me a wow, well done, I've done it, and it's been so long. It's more for me now an observation of the processes which I go through during the day, and what happens to me during different parts of the day, and also my mood, ideas, productivity also. And all of that wrapped up with a sort of acceptance, which for me, that is very hard sometimes because I have days when I am so tired. Like yesterday, I went for a walk and it turned out to be a 10-kilometer walk, which is quite normal for me. However, by the last 2 kilometers, my body was exhausted. My joints were exhausted. And all I wanted to do was just sit down and that's it, or take a public transport. And so in that case, for example, I pushed myself to walk all the way back home to finish the walk. And when that was finished, that was when I was like, wow, well done, kind of like you. But for the fasting part, it's not that. It is almost like, I think it's because my body knows that I am still, and the mind knows that I'm still, for example, taking these supplements in the morning and using cacao, and because it knows the the health benefits and the nutritional um, compactness that is found in cacao itself, I think that gives me that kind of peace of mind. So going back to your first question, if I may, how do I break the fast? I'm going to probably break the fast, I'm thinking, with a soup, like something not intense, like zucchini and maybe cauliflower or broccoli, depending what is the need for me, or some celery sticks, just because I love them. I know it sounds funny, but it's I absolutely love them.
Definitely not pizza. It's definitely not a pizza,
No,
that's for
no,
sure.
definitely not pizza. No, definitely not pizza. Definitely not steak. Um, and what I love about it, to tell you the truth, is the intensity of the flavors that comes in for everything. I'm sure you've experienced that.
Yeah, I like to break fast with avocado and kimchi and some
Ooh,
bit of an egg. And oh my God, it's some kind of nectar of the gods. It's not a combo that I would reach for normally, but it tastes amazing. It tastes
that's
so good.
brilliant. That's
What?
brilliant because kimchi is, sorry if I may say, you gave me a good idea again. I have kimchi in the fridge and I bought it actually to break the fast because it helps with, as you know, the gastrointestinal and rebuilding the microbes
Yeah.
in the stomach and everything. So thank you for
It's
that.
magic. It's a magic food for sure.
Yeah, beautiful.
What's
Thank you.
coming through in this moment for me is that, our life force energy normally when we're eating is very supplemented by the life force energy of what we're eating, which, is something to definitely consider when you're choosing pizza or celery. So our life force energy is supplemented frequency wise, emotional wise, energy wise by the life force energy of the food, and in a way, eating is how we power our own bodies. And so it's a really interesting realization I'm having in this conversation that, like, wow, when you fast, you are really meeting your life force energy without the supply of other sources. You're really getting to meet your life force energy in its
Purest, rawest form, I
sovereignty. Yeah, its sovereignty. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because I'm like, I feel like it's almost like a release of attachment that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that my life force energy has become addicted to or reliant on or attached to. And that's why fasting, I think, can often cause a purification of heaviness and emotion. And like I said, I saw people in Egypt yesterday. It was first day of Ramadan, and I was at the airport at the end of the day, and you could see how how hangry they all, how ratty they all were. Like, and actually Marcello, who recommended you come on the show, was talking about like anger and addiction and
Yes.
how when we're attached, anger is one of the things that comes up. And I'm just like, whoa, this is really exciting to me, because I'm like, wow, a fast is a really good way to purify the attachments in your actual life force energy, you know, in the pathways of your life force energy. It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, and it actually, if I may say, it calms me, at least, down to such an extent that there's a calmness inside. So it's not oh, I'm calm because I've done meditation. It's a lack of emergency. It's a lack of, and I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm not prioritizing things or that things are not important, but it's that lack of importance on things that you realize are actually really so trivial.
That's really interesting you say that, because I'm exploring at the moment that food is how we energize what matters. So this because the body is the body of matter.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it affects what matters in our life, like what we eat, you know, pizza, celery affects what matters in terms of the manifestation of our lives. Yeah. And I'm really exploring in myself and my life, like what is the quality that I am putting into what matters. And so it's really interesting to me that you were saying that it's like when you're speaking to me, it's like you're coming into this thing of, or this place of really clearing out the noise of what matters and what doesn't through the fasting. Does that, would you say that's true?
Yes. Yes. That is so true. And wow, sorry, I don't know why I just got so emotional.
I got emotional earlier when this was coming in. I was like, I'm feeling emotional.
I was like, I'm not going to start crying now.
Please cry. You're welcome to.
Okay, so yeah, that is so correct. And I just need a moment. So carry
Please
on.
share, please. No, please share, because I felt it too. Like when it was coming in, I felt really emotional where this conversation went. And I felt the same emotion you're feeling now, and I'd love you to express from it, because you're obviously in the fast and you're in the full embodiment of what this emotion is about and why it needs to be said on May the Life Force be with you. So please do share.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and explain, which is very, very difficult for me always to put in words certain things. What came up was this it's not a sad emotion. It's more of a it's gonna sound so kitsch, but it is such a heart bursting emotion that came up that I got overwhelmed by the depth and beauty of it. And so sometimes that happens to me. I look at a sunset or sunrise and I start crying. I mean, it's crazy. And that is life force for me as well. And what came very strongly for me was really, like you said, all of this noise, all of this BS. I don't know if I can
say it, bullshit.
Say that. I can say bullshit. I wasn't sure if I can.
You can say everything and anything.
Is really it's like when you understand it really is bullshit, and all there is just this I keep saying love, but there's no such word to describe. And there's like we've made up this word love in all the languages or whatever, but it doesn't even begin to encompass, because my mind cannot encompass the grandeur of this, but somehow I know it in my cellular level and I feel it, and that is so beautiful and overwhelming sometimes. So when you were talking, this is a little bit what came through in a few words. I don't even know how to describe it. So yeah, as strange as it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder what came through for you, if you want to share.
This has been this moment. I had the same thing when I realized that every time I was eating, I was powering up what matters to me. And it really made me, and it's only just come through as a realization, but it really made me get emotional like you, because I saw it on a micro and a macro level of you know, the what matters is like what matters to our heart. And so the quality of what we're, of how we're serving in terms of serving the food to ourselves, it's like is affecting what matters to our humanity. And then I like went even deeper with it and went into like the last week I've been like exploring about like you know what even is in the soil and you know, it's like gone all over into like how are we feeding the future in a way. But this piece around the fasting has added to this big picture, because it's just you know, we're coming out of this very patriarchal existence, and the fast is also how we reconnect to the feminine and the quality of the. So I've also been exploring space and the quality of the energy in the space,
And maybe intuition.
yeah, and how, you know, because you can have dead space,
yeah,
with no energy in it, which is depression, and then the space that is energized, to me, is the primordial form of love. And so I'm also exploring like, how do I have space that is energized? And I feel like fasting is part of learning. It's learning your relationship with food and your relationship with space. And the interplay of what matters and what magnetizes, you know? And so, and all of it is in the life force energy. That's what's beautiful about it. Like I said, I feel like it strips you back to just you and your life force energy. Or that's what's coming through the field for me right now. So
yeah, wow. Yeah, it's how do we nourish ourselves? And now we're talking about food, but it really is about everything else. And when you're in this, or when I'm in this quiet space, because of fasting, and mainly fasting brings me into the space versus other plant medicines or other processes. fasting tends to bring me into this connection space and into this life force connection space and primordial love that you're talking about, more and more towards myself, actually. And what is really amazing is, for me at least, the remembrance of power, strength, and this resilience that I've had through life. And I get reminded about this during fasting because all the other noise around subsides or loses importance. And I don't get lost in it or compare and it's not, I feel, one of those self egotistical kind of love that comes towards myself. It's the kind of love that my ancestors, the universe, just life is in me.
No, I felt it's so beautiful. It really is. Kahreela always says that our conversations are like an activation, and I feel that we were supposed to have this conversation with you, Valentina, and thank you for so beautifully bringing that feeling that you have to life. And I'm right there with you when you're describing it. And I haven't done as long of a fast as you have, but that lightness, that freedom, that just opening, I can feel like my heart opening when I think about those moments of just not letting into the cravings, because they pass really quickly, and you realize how much of your life is regimented either by society telling you when you should be doing things, or actually just little signals that are cravings, but they're not really truly what we need or our body need. We're not really listening. We're just kind of a little bit on autopilot, and just giving yourself permission just to stop and not have to be beholden to those other rhythms and rituals. You just, as you say, get that time, space, peacefulness to listen to yourself a little bit more. And I really got that powerful sense from you. So thank you so much for sharing that and being so vulnerable with us.
May I ask, if somebody's inspired to fast, would you recommend they're not working, or like what would you recommend for them as an initial, if they're like, oh my gosh, I want to feel this love, I'm gonna go and fast. How do you recommend they start? Because obviously you're quite experienced with it. Like, what would you say that they should do?
So I would say first understand truly why you want to do this fast. And it doesn't have to be something deep. Like for me, it was just a thing of, I haven't fasted in a while. My body and my organs feel inflamed and I want to do this. So it was nothing deep. It wasn't like, oh, I want to experience this or whatever. But if you say, okay, I want to experience this, I would say don't fast. I know it sounds funny, because then you're attaching an expectation and then your mind is kind of attached to that. To fast, I would say start very easy. I mentioned earlier, so don't go from eating and drinking wine and coffee every day or whatever it is. It's not wrong or right. I'm just, having full meals, meat, and etc., to the next day just stopping. Go gradual. So maybe do a few days only with vegetables and not cooked in oil, and then start removing your coffee, and then maybe just go to some fruits and see how you feel, because that already is a kind of fasting. That already is a part of it. Another way to start is after you wake up, maybe don't eat straight away. Have 2 or 3 hours in the morning where you're just not eating, you're just drinking your water, not coffee, and then see how you feel. So always pay attention, because your body is what will give you the cues on where your limit is. That is to say that your mind is going to interfere, and your mind is going to be like, oh, but if I have a little sip of this or whatever, it's okay. Or if I just, or you sneak in something in between, try and abstain for that and see how you can override that. Once you override that, you can also go, wow, this is great, I can do it. And that's going to propel you to the next thing. Fasting then afterwards, after you go, let's say, through the vegetables, the fruits, and you taper down, and this can take 2 days, 3 days, or it can take a week. There's no rush for things. There's really just tuning into your body. This is what I would say, and everybody's different depending on your hormones, your age, and etc. I do not advise fasting for anybody younger than 18 or even a bit older, because the body's still developing and there's hormones and etc.
Sorry, so what about menopause? Should you be fasting during menopause?
I would say yes, because fasting helps to clear out dead cells and deadness within the body. And so I would say yes. Of course, I'm not a trained medical doctor or etc., but from the knowledge that I have or gathered, I would say yes. When you're in menopause, you can do that, especially that. And then really just, if you can, don't go, okay, I'm going to fast for like 3 days, 5 days, a whole week. No, just really go, okay, so today let's see how it goes. And if tomorrow I can't, then I can't, and then when tomorrow comes, then go, okay, so let's see how today goes. In terms of what you do during the day, so I've done both. I have been working full time, and I fasted to clean the gallbladder, actually. So that fast included drinking unprocessed apple juice the whole week kind of thing, and then at the end drinking some oil and disgusting stuff to kind of cleanse. And I was working full time plus overtime and etc. That was so tiring and so strenuous. So it was doable, but it was really, really intense on the system. Extremely intense. In terms of exercising and movement, do light things. Like if you're into yoga, fine, do some light poses, some light stretching. Don't do ashtanga or some crazy things, and don't do, if you used to do yoga for like half an hour, 2 hours, don't now carry on doing that, because it tires and it depletes the system. And the system needs to focus on cleaning up, not on sending energy somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so if you can, still maybe go for a walk, get fresh air, be in nature, move a little bit. If you don't do yoga, maybe you want to just stretch or just, like I said, walk. It's okay to do all of that. It keeps everything flowing and moving. Working, depending on what your job is or what your stress level is, or if you're going to be flying tomorrow, or to go to a conference or to a thing or to a meeting, and then you're flying back the next day or on the same day, I would say don't do that. So anything that really pushes your system on dealing with extra and above during this fasting time, maybe try not to do it as best as possible. So weekends, if you can fast over a weekend, maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe you start on Friday morning with a full fast, and then you see how it goes, and maybe you manage, because that you can take as a quiet time.
Beautiful, because you're also then fasting from the push. You're also then fasting from the need to overexert yourself.
Yeah.
Because of the fast. Is beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel called, we have a Lifeforce cafe where people dive deeper with our guests. And I feel called to invite you to, at some point, maybe help us hold a weekend where we fast as a group and see what comes.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Isn't it?
Nice.
Having some community time, some sharing, some processing time, and journeying together.
Quiet time together. Yeah.
And support is super important, especially if you're doing it and you're new, or even if you're not new. There's days when I needed support, like at the beginning. Like if I had support, I would have, yeah.
Would you be up for that?
Yeah. What an honor. Thank you.
Well, I can feel that could be really powerful. You could do some activation amongst that as well, Kahreela. She's off now. She's off, Valentina.
I'm off. I'm like, oh,
you're gonna make me cry again. So can we just like
but then I feel the crying energy. Like I feel in this particular conversation, I can feel how much the goddess life, the life force energy that is speaking through, may the life force be with you, really wants really wants fasting to be understood by our overloaded beings and culture. And I can feel the frequency of it. And I can feel how beautiful it is to then do that in a supported setting. So, yeah, very beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I feel that might be a lovely place for us to, because I can't believe we've been talking for so long already. But again, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing with you. I know that there's a lot of people who are going to be very interested to hear more, and hopefully in the Lifeforce Cafe we can make that happen together. That's such an exciting idea. And we'll make sure that we share everywhere that people can tune into your work, learn more about you, and find you out there in the world, in Switzerland, right? In the mountains, in the
in the city, but
in the city, but it's close to the mountains, closer than we are here. So that's really beautiful. So Kahreela, over to you.
Yeah, we would like to know who we should speak to next.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. And there's and I was like, I gotta prepare for this. And I didn't. But there is just really straight away a person that keeps coming to my mind. He's a male. Such a stable, grounding person. For me, at least, I get this calm energy from him. His name is Chuck. I don't have all his details here right now, but he is a body wisdom, I'm going to say, specialist. And I've worked with him. I met him when I was in Costa Rica. He is practically attending and part of Burning Man every single year. which is on my to-do list, on my bucket list.
And mine.
Right?
There's something
Oh
we'll
my
all do
God, it's
together.
Let's not
crazy.
fast at Burning Man, though. Let's
Oh
eat
my
at
God,
Burning Man.
it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy if we do.
Let's go to Burning Man together.
I think that would be wonderful.
I'm
Let's
in.
get the tickets. Let's get the tickets.
Let's get Chuck on the case.
Let's have a May
Yes.
the Lifeforce be with you float at Burning Man.
Oh my God, can you imagine? That would be wild. I'm telling
It
you,
would be
like,
wild.
that is Lifeforce. 120%. It's Lifeforce.
120%. I agree.
And he's right now, I mean, he's a US citizen, so he lives in the US, and right now he's going through understanding, learning, and doing the process of de-citizenizing himself. There's no such word. Because he's understanding how warped and tweaked and everything else the law is. And so basic rights and everything, like he's really digging deep into that to just become a what do you call it, if you're not a citizen but you still have the passport, you're a oh, I told you my brain went on holiday.
I think I know what you mean, but I don't know the name of it. But it's so interesting you say that, because I was actually talking mushrooms and their magic. I was talking to someone yesterday who offers mushroom ceremonies, and she was like, I don't know if I should keep doing them, like psilocybin ceremonies. Because, and we were talking about how the problem with the law is, even when it is nature's law, like mushrooms are medicine, we are meant to be working with them. But when something is illegal, it immediately puts you out of integrity. It immediately creates a lie or a distortion or a wonkiness. And we were talking about those, like, how the law is kind of stopping us from being our full selves, you know? And a part of, I believe,
expressing
ascension process is like, law has to be changed, man, because the things that are Gaia's law need to be law, you know? And so, it's just really interesting that the mushrooms are so intelligent. You start a conversation with mushrooms and they're gonna
and then that's it. It just goes. It's like the mycelium. It just crawls into everything. I would be personally interested to know how that goes. Because I'm working with psilocybin, and of course it's illegal. I mean, yes, there's trials and there's scientific tests, and it's becoming more seen, heard, and talked about. But I cannot sell it. And it's part of one of my cacao mixes. I mean, if you want to, in microdosing, because I do microdosing myself. But I can't, like, this is not something that's just like, oh, all right, let's have a conversation or awareness, or let's do this. Or if you want to come through and experience, in a safe environment and guided and etc., do it. So I would personally be very interested to know how she deals with that.
I mean, I think we're gonna try and get her on the show. I can definitely put you in touch with her. But I feel like there's a real importance in life force versus law. You know, and where life force and law are out of alignment. It is a different conversation. And I was so proud because we actually got to 45 minutes and then
So Chuck is going to be one of the people that I fully recommend. I can send you the details. However, right now I do not have that handy. My apology.
Just connect us when you can, and thank you so much. Your frequency is amazing, and
Thank you to the both of you.
This has really touched my heart, this conversation. So thank you so much.
And I feel like
Kahreela and Fiona.
sewn a web, or you've started a thread that is going to continue across a number of conversations, I feel, and also I hope into the Lifeforce Cafe as well. So
And Burning Man.
And Burning Man. You will definitely be back.
Definitely Burning Man, ladies. We got to do the Burning Man.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you, Valentina, and we wish you a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you to the both of you.
May the
Thanks,
life
everyone.
force and the fasting be with you.
What a beautiful, I'm not even going to say episode. I'm just going to say moment. Because that's really what it was. And it was very interesting. Obviously, it'll be interesting to listen back, because I had the privilege of seeing both of you as you were having that discussion, and I could feel the emotion and I could see it bouncing across both of you. And then when Valentina spoke, it really touched her. So it felt, you know, as you say, every episode is an activation, but that one felt like a direct connection that felt very special between the two of you.
Oh my gosh, it was like a moment of you know, it's something I've experienced in the workshops in the Lifeforce Cafe. Actually, there's this like truth that comes in through collaborative conversation. And it's like a truth that like lands into the space and the system. And I really feel like the beautiful frequency and energy and wisdom and heart that she brought, like it's still with me now, you know, and I can, this wisdom around fasting, like I can feel that my organs are overloaded, my system's overloaded.
Me too. But it's not just from the food and the sluggish and all those things, which is what I do feel right now. But it feels like my headspace as well. And it really resonated with me what she said about, you know, that kind of space and that calm, and like any kind of anxiety you have, it just seems to fall away when you get to a certain point in that fast where you feel more relaxed. You're not anxious about food or thinking about other things because you have to do them. You just get more intuitive, and there's a massive sense of freedom that comes with that I'm now really craving. You kind of want to get high on that, you know? I want to get cracking on my cacao and my adaptogenics and just get that sense of peace. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing. And I know some people might think it's irresponsible to talk about it on this podcast, but we trust our listeners. We trust the people that are listening to do your research, to figure out what's right for your body, to figure out what's right for your life force. We're not saying everybody needs to do this immediately.
And I also love that somehow we went from fasting to all going to Burning Man together.
Yeah.
Only on May the Life Force be with you, hey?
But I do think there's something interesting for us to explore in that collective life force supported fast, or you know,
that is going to be amazing.
And even if someone doesn't want to fully do the fast, and maybe you just want to do some liquid, or you just want to do some broth or soup,
or just being in the field of it, you know, being in the shared space.
Yeah. Come along and just like have that space held and get curious, and see how you feel and see how others are feeling. And I think that could be an amazing invitation to bring lots of different people together in that moment. So yeah, let's make that happen for sure.
Absolutely. I'm going to message her now.
Great. Well, until the next time, my friend.
May the life force be with you. We hope this conversation has topped up your life force energy. If it has, then please help us spread the life force. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And may the life force be with all of us.